This is Steve and Hayley's Charity Walk 2017. In the summer of 2017, we set ourselves a challenge. We were very keen. We decided to walk the Norfolk Coastal Path, although this was many miles from Bath. I came up with the idea quite at random and invited Steve along to be part of the tandem. We found a fabulous company called my Gins, with two great tent elves that met us with big grins. They gave us a hamper of delicious treats and a comfy bed to rest our weary bones and tired feet. Sometimes he wondered if we were quite mad. Luckily the thought of our walk made us happy, not sad. We were doing it for two great worthwhile causes. For the animals at Hillside, we are their voices. Promoting them shows people they do have life choices. Animals can be our friends and not our food, and seeing them live free will surely put anyone in a good mood. We are both passionate vegans, so this cause is close to our hearts. And as a volunteer at Bath Gateway Out and About Club, my role has many parts. Planner, helper and befriender. Volunteering is so much better than any drunken bender. Now I return to our adventures with walk. It's time we talk the talk. On Monday the 31st of July, we went to Hunstanton both on a high. Luckily it was a warm day with a beautiful clear sky. We stopped off at a village pub and ate our vegan pizzas for our grub. Afterwards we had to climb a steep hill. Our bodies sure felt they had been through the mill. We arrived at our first campsite at Burnham Deep Dale. Our tired legs moved the pace of a snail. Luckily for us, this is where we met our 10 elves, who had baked us a cake we had all to ourselves. Unfortunately that night I was not well, though I could not keep it a secret, as all could tell. I coughed and I sneezed all night long, and then we were woken early with the dawn chorus song. After a delicious and tasty breakfast that filled our bellies and was surely last, we set off on the second day of our hike, where it seemed everyone else was riding a bike. We passed a beautiful harbour with fishing boats, and children laughed and played in the watery moats. We walked on sand, pure and white, and birds soared above us taking flight. In forests we went, made of pine. All the time we looked out for our acorn sign. Eventually we went to wells next to sea. We had the pleasure of tasting a cider or three. The sign said only 3 miles to the next campsite. It was a long path, so seeing our tent was a welcome sight. The evening was relaxing and in all quite nice, despite hurting my ankle and putting it on ice. It cheered me up to see some familiar faces. Who'd have thought I'd meet my family here of all places? Finally we saw a sky, a beautiful sunset, sky orange and red. It was time to say goodnight, we were off to bed. We set up from Stiffkey around 10 o'clock, not following the others to the beach like a flock. Instead we walked for a beautiful nature reserve, the peace and tranquility, what we deserve. The windmill we saw in the village of Cly. At this point we both wished we were birds that could fly. The next part of our journey was going to be tough. Luckily for us, we were strong enough. As before we lay miles of shingle, which meant no time to stop and mingle. The others on our walk could not handle it like us, and instead of walking, they did this stretch by bus. But who were we to make a fuss? On those tiny shores we did trek. Our poor little legs were such a wreck. Upon the town of Sheringham we did wander, only time for a quick beer, not to ponder, as we had to climb the great beast and bump, but soon we arrived at our tent, sitting down with a thump. That night was full of wind and rain, and in the morning the tent nearly blew to Spain. Next day we were in for a treat. The animals at Hillside we were to meet. It was nice to see our cows, Clover and Bramble, but couldn't stop long as we had to do our ramble. In the town of Cromer we went through. Luckily for me, it had a loo. The next part of our journey sure gave us a fright. We were walking on cliff tops and could fall from a great height. Through coastal erosion, the paths had almost disappeared. Falling off the cliff was what we most feared. In Munsley some folk came to cheer us along. We met with Jodie Dodd, Shirley, Anne, and my lovely mum, our #1 fan. Though it was great to see them, their news made us sad. As we were told, "You have 6 miles to go." Boy, were we mad. We walked down onto the beach. The village of Haysborough seemed well out of reach. We headed for its big church and red and white lighthouse. By the time we arrived, we were tired and quiet like a mouse. I even left my cider, too sleepy for drinks. But I knew what my body needed was to get 40 winks. The next day we were up early. The sky was light. We had slept well and felt quite bright. Today we spent walking on sandy dunes and even had time to sing some funny tunes. We went to Horsey, it was great. We saw a colony of seals. I think it was fate. Some lay resting on the beach, others swam in the sea, and I know it was a real treat for Steve and me. The rest of the day passed without much event, till soon we were in California, relaxing in our tent. For tea we had curry sauce and chips, sat looking out at sea at the different ships. In the evening we had energy to visit a bar. We were pleased it was on our site, so not very far. We had a drink and played a game of pool, listened to music, and I danced like a fool. I can't believe it's now our final day. We have managed to stay on track and find our way. Today was not a pretty sight. We saw lots of docks, and funnily enough, we're on our last pair of socks. We went to Great Yarmouth and had some fun. For starters, a tropical slushy in the sun. We had a ride on the famous snails. Shame it was so bumpy, our smiles hidden behind whales. It wasn't long before we reached the sign. Only 2 more miles to the finishing line. At this point Steve took off his boots to feel the sand between his toes, and I rubbed sun cream on my burnt little nose. In Hopton-on-Sea we shrieked with delight. The wooden beacon was a welcome sight. 84 miles in 6 days, we had succeeded in our plight. Mum, Nanny and Jodie met us with faces so proud. They gave us a cheer and said "Congratulations" out loud. We even had a bright balloon to celebrate, and Steve and I high-fived and said, "Well done, mate." To the beer festive we went next, full of smiles and laughter, for we knew we would happily remember this ever after. So as we listened to music and had a beer, we were filled with lots of good cheer. Thank you all for all your support, donations, kind words, or simply a thought. Now I will stop there before I get all soppy, but just remember, we are truly happy. I know you must have one question on your mind. What shall we do in a year's time? I think it is safe to say, without a doubt, it won't be another walkabout. One final thing I have to say, though it is up to you if you take it away. For all you dog owners out on a stroll, think of people on the whole. Nobody wants to see your dog mess, and you are wrong not to care less. So next time your dog does a poo, pick it up so we can all enjoy the countryside too. Thank you!